Devaki Nandanaya cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Sadguru Bhagavan ki jai, Satchidananda Bhagavan ki jai, Krishna Bhagavan ki jai, Gita Mata ki jai. Hari Om. We are discussing Srimad Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter, and yesterday we saw 17th shloka. Jastvatma ratireva syat atma triptascha manavaha atmaneva cha santushtaha tasya karma na vidyate. But for that man who rejoices only in the self, Atma Rama, Jastvatma Ratireva Jaha. Jo one who enjoys in his own self, he is called Atma Rama. Ramana, Raman to enjoy. So, one whose mind is always in the self, who rejoices only in the self, who is satisfied with the self only, and who is content in the self alone, verily there is nothing to do for him. Because he is what we used to discuss, completeness. He feels completeness within himself, that is all contentment, full contentment. So no lacking of anything in itself. That means that completeness, which is otherwise known as contentment, has stopped all the desires to rise, and there is no movement to fulfill the desires, because no desires are there, so no movement. So there is nothing to do for him. Our actions are only to satisfy the desires, and because there is no desire, because there is no sense objects and attachment with it, so he feels completeness within itself. He is fully content, and that is bliss. He enjoys the bliss within himself. That is, he enjoys the self. So, there is nothing to do for him. Now the question comes, if there is nothing to do, why do then he does some work? That we shall see. Naiva tasya kritenartha, he says, the sage does not depend on external objects for his happiness. He feels all the happiness within itself. He is quite satisfied with the self. He finds his joy, bliss and contentment within his own self. For such a person who has knowledge of the self, there is nothing to do. He has already done all actions. Why? Because we do all the actions only to fulfill the desires. So all the desires are satisfied means there is nothing to do more. He has satisfied all his desires. He has complete satisfaction. Complete satisfaction is completeness and full contentment. So he says, Naiva tasya kritena artha, na kriteneha kaschana, na chasya sarvabhuteshu, kaschid artha vyapasrayaha. For him, for such a man, Atma Rama, there is no interest whatever in what is done or what is not done. So no attachment at all. He has no interest in whatever is done or not done. Nor does he depend on any being for any object. He is not dependent. He needs nothing. So he is not dependent. He is fully independent. That is called in Sanskrit Swarajya. Swarajya, own kingdom. Swarajya, and that is called Swatantrata, ruling over himself. Swatantrata, that means freedom. He is not dependent. The sage who is thus rejoicing in the self does not gain anything by doing any actions. For him, really no purpose is served by any action. Action has some purpose, some motive, but now he has nothing to do and no motive, no purpose. No evil, pratyabhaya dosh, pratyabhaya. If you do something, then the reaction will be there. So every action will have reaction. That cannot be avoided. If you do some action, there will be reaction. And action and reaction, they are relatives. So there will be something good and bad, both. So that is called pratyabhaya. Pratyabhaya na vidyate. Nachasya sarvabhuteshu kachid artha vyapasraya. There is no purpose of any transaction, not giving nor taking. So no evil can touch him from inaction. If you don't do anything, then previously you have seen, you will occur sin, because actions are done by the nature. You are going against nature. You occur sin, not by doing your those daily duties to protect the body or to do daily transactions, etc. If you don't do, you will occur sin. We have seen one has to do all the 5 yajnas daily. If you don't do it, you will occur sin. Now, for such a person, there is no sin, no merits, nothing. He will not occur sin. He does not lose anything from inaction. Previously we have seen by inaction you will occur sin, but for this such special person, it is special case. He will have no sins. and he need not depend upon anybody to gain a particular object. He need not exert himself to get the favor of anybody. Please help me. That means there is no dependency. There is no question of relationship, no need. He is independent of himself because he takes all the enjoyments within himself. So he is not dependent. So now there will be a question. Naiva tasya kritanartho na kritenaha kaschana na jasya sarvabhutesu kaschid artha vyapasraya. He doesn't depend upon anybody. He is completely free, and he has nothing to he has no any dependency on other to gain some objects, to get something, because he is complete in itself. So in such case, when he has nothing to do and he never gains any sin by inaction, by not doing anything, of course he is a special case. The sage who is thus rejoicing in the self does not gain anything by doing any action. For him, really no purpose is served by any action. No purpose. All these purposes are served by self-enjoyment, and no evil can touch him from inaction. He does not lose anything from inaction. He need not depend upon anybody to gain particular objects. He need not exert himself to get the favor of anybody. He is neither supported by anybody nor he supports anybody. Such will be the condition of something strangely different from all others, the worldly people, the ignorant persons. Why he is emphasizing on this, and what is the need of explaining all these to Arjuna? Krishna's purpose was Arjuna should fight. That is what he clarified in the very beginning itself. And now he is telling there is no purpose of doing anything. What does it mean? It means if you have no gain in doing anything or not doing anything, no gain, no loss, so impartially you can do something for the idealistic life. You will set some examples before others. They will lead their life in such a way they will live in the water just as the lotus leaf, unattached, unconcerned, unaffected. The water, the lotus leaf is born in the water. Its life is water. It lives in the water, but water doesn't touch him. Padma patramivamasa. So now you can do for what purpose? You have no purpose. So only purpose is to set some example before others. लोक संग्रह के लिए, for setting some example before others. Tasmat asakta satatam karya karma samachara. So again he is emphasizing. So now, O Arjuna, tasmat asakta satatam, all the time being unattached, karyam karma samachara, the needful duties we can go on doing. Asakto yacharan karma paramapnati purusaha. Therefore, without attachment, do thou always perform action which should be done. For by performing action without attachment, man reaches the supreme. Because he has no attachment, no get, no expectations, no dependency, no purpose. So in that state, if he does something, it is for the others only, for the sake of example only, and he has got no loss, no gain out of it. And on the other hand, he gains all the purpose, all the enjoyments. He has all the contentment in himself. He is always in the self. Generally, an example is given always. We have also discussed it many times. For example, in a fine sandy land somewhere, sandy ground, if an ant walks over it, there will be some footprints of the ant. Over the footprints of the ant, if a lizard walks about, then those footprints of the ant will be covered by the footprints of the lizard. Over the lizard, a dog walks, a cat walks, and over that a dog walks, and over the dog a human being walks, over the human being a tiger walks over, and then in the end elephants walk over. So all the footprints are covered by the footprint of the elephant. In the same way, whatever duties you do in the worldly parlance, of course they are duties. It is to be done according to the time, situations and surroundings, conditions. You have to do your duty. But all these personal duties towards each other, suppose you have been helped by your friend at the time of need. Now your friend is in the need, so your duty is to help him. So it is personal duty. Over that, if you overlook your personal duties and do the family duties, that can cover up your dutifulness of personal duties. And over that, if you are dedicated to social duties, then that will cover up your family duties. And if you have overlooked your social duties and you are doing something for the sake of country, that overcomes all other duties, your personal duties, family duties, social duties are forgotten, they are covered up. You will not acquire sin because you are doing something for greater purpose. And after all, over all these duties, if you think of the Absolute all the time continuously, that is Atma Rama, such a person who is always enjoying bliss in himself. So all the duties of the relative world are covered up. There is no duty remains for such a person to be done. All the duties are covered up. So, being unattached, being satisfied in the self, having no desires, being unattached, go on doing anything comes by the way, only for example's sake. And doing this, one loses nothing, gains nothing, is ever established in the absolute truth. They are alone without attachment. Do thou always perform action which would be done for by performing action without attachment, man reaches the Supreme. He enjoys in the Supreme only. If you perform actions without attachment for the sake of the Lord, you will attain this self-realization through purity of heart. That purifies your heart to the highest level. No heart remains. Heart has become the abode of the Supreme. There is no personal heart here. And then he says, he gives also examples, because we discussed now, such a person only does for sake of to set example before others. So he gives the example. Karmanyeva hi sansiddhim asthita janakadaya loka sangraham evapi sampasyan kartumarhasi. Janaka and others, such kings, attained perfection verily by action only. Even with a view to the protection of the masses, thou shouldst perform action for the protection of the society, the country, for the righteousness, you should perform actions. Sansiddhim karmanyeva hi sansiddhim astita janakadaya. They attain siddhi. Siddhi means perfection. Perfection or liberation. Janaka, Ashwapati and others had perfect knowledge of the self, and yet they performed actions in order to set an example to the masses. They worked for the guidance of mankind. Loka Sangraha. Loka Sangraha mevapi. Loka Sangraha means for protection of the masses. If you set some examples, guide them, the people follow you. That is also said just after it. Jajada charati sreshtha sattadeva taro janah sajat pramanam kurute lokas tadanuvartate. By setting the example, just as the perfect person does some actions without attachment, without any purpose, selflessly, so others also will follow them, follow him. Yad yada charati sreshtha. Just as the important person, VIP, acts, others will follow the same path. Whatsoever a great man does, that the other men also do, they follow it. Whatever he sets up as the standard, that the world follows, mankind follows it. Yad yada charate shrestha, the great people. Tatvat itaro janaha, others follow that path. Sajat pramanam kurute, whatever he sets as an example, loka tadanuvartate, the whole mass follow it. Because ignorant persons have no discriminative power and they cannot think so much to decide what is right, what is wrong. So they just follow the path trodden by the great people. This is how in Mahabharata also, when Yudhishthira was examined, had given a taste to that, the king of death, Yamaraj, Dharmaraj, came in the form of a crane, some yaksha. Yaksha means some kind of gods. They safeguard the wealth. They are called yakshas. They are the partners or subordinates of the Kubera, which is in charge of the universal wealth. Kubera. Now, when all the four brothers, they were unable to bring water and they were adamant, they didn't answer to the questions of the Yaksha who was protecting that water. They didn't care to answer his questions, and as a result they were felt dead. And now in the end Yudhishthira goes there because he is a righteous person. He never gives any, he never goes against anyone. So when the Yaksha started telling, oh Yudhishthira, be careful, you have to, this water belongs to me, I am the owner of this water. If you don't answer my questions and forcibly drink this water, you will also have the same result as your other brothers have. You will die. Please answer my questions first. So Yudhishthira said, okay, I shall reply your questions. He was not stubborn. He was polite. That is the symptoms of a wise man. He never gets arrogance. Now, Yaksha put several questions, very critical questions, and Yudhishthira replied aptly, just to the point. So in those questions, one was, what is the way? Just this much. What is the way? What is the right way? So it is a universal question. So Yudhishthira replied the same. Mahajana yena gata sa pantha. Ka pantha. He asked, what is the way? So Yudhishthira gave the answer. The way is that which is trodden by great people. Or we kahi, in some other places, it is said, perhaps, I don't remember exactly, Bhishma told to Yudhishthira, what is dharma? Yudhishthira asked Bhishma, he is a source of all the knowledge because he is such a old man, so much experience. So in Santi Parva, in the end of Mahabharata, when our Bhishma was lying in the RO bed, Yudhishthira used to go every day to him and he used to get knowledge from him because he was source of all the knowledge. So once Yudhishthira asked what is the real form of, real definition of dharma. So our Bhishma Pitama replies, whatever is done by the mighty person, that is called dharma. बलवान जो कर जाता है वही धर्म होता है. A mighty being, whatever he does, whatever he sets as a track, others follow it, and that becomes the right path. That becomes dharma. There is no dharma. No dharma means the great people, they set the examples before the others. So that becomes the right path and that becomes the dharma. Whatever a great man does, that the other men also do. Whatever he sets up as the standard, that the world, the other mankind follows. Man is a social animal. He is an imitating animal too. Imitating. He imitates whatever is done. Gaddalika Prabha, they say, just as the sheep, wherever the front sheep goes, the other followers, they lead the same track. If one falls to the ditch, other also jump to the ditch without thinking anything. That is called the Gaddalika Prabha. Blindless, blind supporting the, blind following the person going ahead without thinking anything, just to follow blindly, blind faith. Man is a social animal. He is an imitating animal. He takes his ideas for right and wrong from those whom he regards as his moral superiors. Whatever a great man follows, the same is considered as an authority by his followers. They try to follow him. They endeavor to walk in his footsteps. This is what I was telling by the footprints. So, tomorrow we shall see further. Name parthasti kartavyam. He gives also his own example. I have nothing to do. I have nothing to get in this world, but yet I am ever engaged in action. It is only for setting examples before others. This we shall see tomorrow. Hari Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadguru Bhagavan ki jai. Satchidananda Bhagavan ki jai. Krishna Bhagavan ki jai. Gita Mata ki jai. Hari Om. Thank you.